Hey, welcome to the Boars Nest, everybody. My name is Bob Duke, and once again, I am doing a live show. Hell yeah! And on a good note, I got a new mic. Thank you to Carl Carefelt over at S- Turnbuckle Studios. I almost forgot the sponsor of my show. Oh my god, I'm gonna die. But we got a couple gentlemen here live from the show over on Turnbuckle Wrestling there, the Turnbuckle Talk. So let's introduce everybody. We got first up the Canadian Goose. Honk honk. How's it going, my friend?
I'm
How's
doing
it
all right.
feel?
How are you?
Happy to be here back in the Boars Nest, talking shit and talking wrestling.
Fair enough. I'm here
And
in the I don't know, goose den.
the
What do
Goose Den. I know, dude. It's everybody's got their thing, right? But the second edition in the Boars Nest, having a beer, talking shit with the rest of us, is Mr. Parrish. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing just fine, thank you. How are you guys?
Phenomenal. I am doing great. Let me get this up here and get the comments up just in case someone decides to come in and say hi to us. Probably not. So, we just got done over there, Turnbuckle Talk, with the Mighty Joe Awards. Again, the greatest awards you can get in pro wrestling now. I'm seeing it now. It's the best. What did you guys think of the show in a whole? How did you feel? Let's go
Um,
with Parrish first.
well, I'm not surprised AEW cleaned up. I mean, it's kind of what happens when it's kind of like every other Christmas when there's a new toy, everybody wants it, right? So everyone's
Yeah.
excited for it. But I mean, they did a lot of great stuff this year. Let's not pee around the bush on that. But at the same time, it's still one of those things that I still think we're in that if it's not WWE, we like even more kind of a phase. So
Yeah.
I'm just not surprised on that, even though I think we kind of overlook the fact that we have so much more wrestling to enjoy now, and that's really the big win out of everything.
I would agree with you. I'm not going to disagree. Yeah, we do have a lot of premier wrestling right now. That's not AEW. Let's ask Goose, buddy, what did you think of the show?
I only caught the last couple of awards there,
Oh,
so
okay.
congratulations to Ian Riccaboni and to AEW for their big wins there.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Love Pro Wrestling show Change the Game is going to be airing on January the 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you check
Nice.
that out.
Nice. That's yeah, I'm definitely going to be checking it out myself cuz I am really enjoying the family that we have here or over there at Love Wrestling. Even here at Turnbuckle Studios, we have a great family. We like to support each other and just have a good time. So let's see. We had the first award was male wrestler of the year. Um, your picks were Brian Danielson, Hangman Page, Jonathan Grisham from ROH, Kenny Omega, Roman Reigns, and there was an other option. Out of those gentlemen, who did you think should have won, or do you have a different gentleman that you think should have won that title, Goose?
I should have won. I'm Nobody's gonna pop for that at all. Okay, cool. Just leave me hanging, boys. All right. I mean, Kenny Omega has been awesome in every match I've seen him in. Same with Hangman Page. Like, it's hard to point and say like, oh, who's the best wrestler of the year? Like, I don't know. Depends. Like,
Right.
who's been in some of the best? Like, Daniel Bryan's a good pick because he's had great matches in both AEW and WWE.
That's the thing, right? It's hard to take that pick of all the male wrestlers and you gotta think it's not just WWE, AEW, ROH, or Impact. We got MLW, we got AAA, we got a bunch of new wrestling companies that are starting to step forward and make an impact on the wrestling profession in a whole. But on that list, Kenny Omega did win the vote. Again, we had 16 people vote. which was more than I thought was going to vote. And then we had the female wrestler. If you could pick any female wrestler right now on any promotion, who would you pick? Because there's a list here we have, but I'm going to give it just that way. Who would you pick to be female?
Can I just say something about the men's one though first?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. I just think like it's overshadowed with the fact that Roman Reigns is champion every single day of the year. And when you're the number one guy in the promotion for every single day, I think that should be very telling. However, I thought like guys like Walter and Ilya Dragunov deserved honorable mentions in that because Walter has been one of the best in a long time, and Ilya Dragunov just absolutely erupted. And I would put them in the same category as a Kenny Omega. Like all three guys, it's really anybody's ball game. But again, it's that I do think it's not like we got to pick something other than WWE here, and it's a lot of people are really clinging to AEW, and because of that, they're the popular vote. They're gonna get that vote. It not because it's necessarily maybe the best, but it's because that's what everyone's tuning into right now. Right. And he's the face of AEW.
Now, here's an honest question: do you think that it's just because we're being oversaturated with AEW because they got 4 shows?
I think you're oversaturated with WWE, and I think it's just because the oversaturated with AEW. It's we don't know what we're being oversaturated with, whereas WWE it's oversaturated with a lot of stuff we don't like, and WWE kind of has bred the negativity of the wrestling fans because they've done a lot of releases, they've done a lot of hokey stuff, they've done a lot of like dicking around with superstars that we just wish we didn't do, and then they almost have that clean slate with AEW. So I think that's kind of it. Plus, I think a lot of people wanted to see Kenny Omega in the States.
I think that's a big thing, too. A lot of people wanted Kenny Omega. I don't want to just watch him on, New Japan. No, I want to see this guy here.
But, like, I personally think Kenny Omega every week is not the greatest thing in the world to see. I don't think the guy's the best storyteller in terms of feuds, to be honest. I think guys like Brock Lesnar are better at it than he is. I think Kenny Omega is better suited to be an actual, like if we're going to go with, say, a video game, because I know he likes video games. I find wrestling is kind of catering to a video game style, but I think he is more of that final boss than he is. Like he's more of the Bowser than he is a Mario.
He's also kind of a comedy character.
He does.
Like he's goofy sometimes. Like he just walks around in like really flamboyant clothing, and he's got Don Callis there being just an over-the-top mouthpiece the whole time, and it's very entertaining. But if I saw this guy have to wrestle Brock Lesnar, I would believe that Brock Lesnar was going to murder him.
And like we've all been in the ring before.
Yeah.
Don't we all like to say that the world champion is a guy who we can say is probably going to kick her ass in a believable sense? And I do not get that with Kenny Omega.
No, not really. I guess you're right. Yeah, I just kind of see him as Kenny Omega, the next guy to beat.
I see that more with Hangman Adam Page. I honestly think Adam Page can go to a bar and beat up people. And like that's why I think he's the perfect guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He has that believability to be like, I don't want to mess with this guy because as small as he really is, because he's not ripped by no sense of the meaning, but he's that guy you don't want to get in a bar fight with.
And like really. That's why like I was always on the other side of the opinion when everybody got mad that Kofi lost in 8 seconds to Brock, and I was like, let's go back to the Undertaker thing, shoot or work. Do you believe that Kofi Kingston can beat him? No. Therefore, why is it so bad?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. You just look at Kofi, you're just like, I don't see that guy really kicking anybody's ass, really. Mm-hmm. And then you put him up against the biggest guy.
I don't know. Like, Kofi's jacked. So is, like, Kenny Omega's a jack, too. Like, these are guys that are in really good shape. And I'm sure if they wanted to handle themselves in a fight, they could handle themselves. just fine. But I just like think their demeanor is of a kind of a nerdy, friendly nature.
They don't carry themselves as a world champion.
They're not
Yeah.
aggressive or they're not like they don't have like this sort of dark side to them where you believe that they're dangerous.
Yeah,
And
like you would for Adam Page. He doesn't have the real dark side, but if this guy clicks that switch and goes off, he's kicking some ass.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I just think you need that nowadays in wrestling. I think we're just at that point.
You need somebody that'll just have that look of, okay, I could be your best friend, like Hangman, but hey, when it's time to go, I'm going and I'm kicking your ass, whether you're my best friend or my brother or my dad. I don't care who you are. You're getting your ass kicked because that title's mine.
Yeah, and this is why I'm saying Ilya Dragunov is too, because he's a smaller guy, but I 100% believe that with him. Walter carries himself with that exact same cadence, and Roman Reigns sweats it. So that is why I think there is no better world champion right now than Roman Reigns.
Yeah, he's definitely got the swagger to be like, he comes out with that chest pumped out, and
he's a swinging dick in the room.
Well, he's the biggest star in wrestling right now that's active, and he knows it. And like, he acts like he knows it, and I think good on him for it. Like, I think Roman Reigns is one of the bright spots of any WWE programming right now.
He is. And I hate to say that sometimes because I'm not really the Roman Reigns guy. I like what he's doing. I appreciate what he's doing, but I'm not that guy. Like, I want to see him get his ass kicked, but I also want to see him win. If that makes any sense.
Is he not the last guy that you want to know who's going to beat him? I honestly have not felt this way since maybe Asuka, since maybe Undertaker at Mania, since maybe Goldberg. Like, that's a special kind of presence. And with Roman Reigns, it's just there's a lot more substance to the way he works than a Goldberg. So I mean, I don't know. Like, it's to me, I just haven't felt like that in a while. I think we all knew that Adam Page was eventually going to beat Omega, and I don't like that predictability. Sometimes it's nice to have that hope. I just don't like the actual predictability.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
I think the name that comes to my mind when you mention guys that like Roman Reigns can be compared to, I think the top name that comes to my mind is John Cena, just because he's that guy. He's the main guy of WWE. Like, John Cena was the main guy, whether you liked it or not. John Cena was the main guy, and I like that now. That's the same thing with Roman Reigns. He's the main guy. Everybody knows it, except they're playing it like differently, like because he's like a bad guy now. And that's making the whole situation a little interesting because it's still this guy who's like, he's not an amazing athletically styled wrestler. Like, he's not Ricochet or Rey Mysterio. He doesn't do a bunch of crazy stuff. He's just like a well-built big guy out there wrestling, just the same as John Cena, and he uses his superior charisma and the fact that he's been nominated the main guy, and then the fact that the last time somebody was nominated the main guy and everybody wanted to see that guy go bad the whole time and never got to see that. Now we're getting that, and it's compelling stuff.
Another name that I think is honorable mention, because I think if you took him out of the company that is a gigantic hit, is Seth Rollins. I thought his last year might have been his best full complete year that he's ever had.
Wow. Yeah, he's definitely come a long way.
Like, the amount of people he elevated without actually needing a championship was exceptional, and I think that year has considerably solidified himself as a Hall of Famer.
Well, I know that there was definitely like some huge expectations going into his match against Cesaro at WrestleMania.
Yep. And that was, I think, one of the matches of the night on both cards.
Isn't that scary when you think about it? It was a non-title match.
Yeah.
Usually that's WrestleMania, though.
That takes the show. But
For the
again,
good,
we didn't have.
if
we
it's
didn't
on
have
an
Undertaker.
intercontinental title match, it's usually an untitled match.
Yeah, true enough. True enough. Okay, you're right. I'll give you that. But yeah, you both like we need guys to step up and start these storylines with.
Wrestling
With
lacks stars right now. It's just an honest thing.
well, it doesn't help when your talent is scared to do what they want to do because you're going to let them go
I
or
mean,
you're going
it's
to reprimand them for it. Or I say give the control back to the wrestler to a certain degree to help tell a story.
well,
Like
that's kind of
with
what I feel like AEW is doing.
yeah,
100%.
I was gonna say, but with that, you do still need the guidance of someone else. You can't just let 100%
No, exactly.
go to one thing. You need that guidance too, because Vince McMahon was so crucial in the '90s and 2000s, helping these guys. He was
Yeah.
like a little, just his subtleness to helping guys like.
Oh, he froze.
Well,
That's a good place to freeze.
is he
That's
going to
a
come
bummer.
back? Can we like
I hope he's going to come back
refresh
because I
him?
wanted to finish that. There he is.
Very good point, Parrish. Well stated.
So I don't even know what happened.
We got
'Cause,
the
like-
Vince part helping people, and you froze, dude.
Oh, because like nothing actually froze on my end.
Yeah, no,
That
you,
was
It
a
never
weird-
does. It's always
you,
our
you
end.
completely frozen. We sat here and
Mhm.
was like, hey, I think he's frozen. Yeah.
Like I even have the thing going, and like I just can't see it. But yeah, no, it's
I
just
think
it's
another guy that really needs to be mentioned as far as this year goes is CM Punk. Like he came back to AEW, and that was kind of like a shot in the arm for a lot of people who would just not been in, like who didn't care about wrestling. Like my cousin Dale found out about that, and now he's like every week phoning me and talking to me about AEW and let me
Right.
know what happened if I didn't watch it. And I'm like he was just like a casual like viewer before, and now he's like hardcore into it. He's like, "Have you heard of this guy Jay White in Japan?" I'm like, well, "I've seen one or two little things. He's awesome.
Right.
He's the best thing. He's gonna come to AEW and kill them all." And I'm like, "Okay."
Jesus.
and
But
with
that's-
that being said, we should include MJF as well.
Yeah,
There's a guy that stepped up to the plate lately in the last year. Look at the feud he had with Jericho,
And Darby Allin, and then
Darby Allin,
now CM
and
Punk.
CM Punk now.
Yeah.
And look at
literally
this. Not
every
only
time
it
he is
a
on the
feud,
microphone, like I'm more interested in his microphone segments than I am in his actual matches. Like if they told me, okay, MJF is going to have like a face-off microphone battle on AEW against the next guy who's coming in to be a big star,
right?
you know, I would be interested in that, you know, more so than I would be to find out he's just going to wrestle that guy
He's
on the show.
fighting
I
somebody,
want to
yeah.
see him talk shit to the guy first, you know?
And that's part of what I think is lacking in wrestling today is people that can actually say something and not drag it out in a 45-minute promo to explain what they're talking about.
I think that's very key because, like, I mean, I don't know about like you fellas, and I don't know much about you at all, to be honest, Bubba. I know Parrish a little bit, but like I know for RCW, once in a while, if I know I'm having a match and I know who I'm wrestling and stuff, I'll put up a promo. But I make a conscious effort to make sure my promo is no more than like 2.5 minutes long, and even if it's going over 2 minutes, I'm like, ooh, this is a little. This is getting a little long-winded here. I might need to just redo this and
But exactly,
cut some
how many
stuff out
times do you
because
go through it and edit till you get that exactly what you want to say within that timeline? Really, how long do you take? To make
I
sure your
don't
promo is
normally
complete?
like edit the video. I just retake the whole thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How many times do you redo your promo to make sure it's the way you really want it within your 2-minute-ish window?
Yeah. Yeah. A
Right?
lot of times. Like there's been times where I just start rolling and it's like, oh, I filmed like this 10-minute thing. Yeah. Well, that ain't gonna work. But there's
That ain't gonna
maybe a few points in there that I can use and just condense it down and
right. You go
make
back,
it into a
watch it,
thing. But
write
it's
things down,
yeah, like I find
and
that if
redo it.
you're doing like 3-4 minute long like promos, especially just on internet, Facebook and stuff like that, like people will watch for a few seconds and then
Yeah.
they lose interest unless you catch them with something right off the top.
Exactly. And that's what I find WWE is losing a lot of people is they're just talking too much.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not an expert by any means. That's my personal philosophy on it. Like, I obviously am not like the promo master, or I'd probably get a lot more money for wrestling and stuff.
This is literally just guys talking shit. And listen, it's your opinion.
But those are the same reasons to why you choose to tune into one program over the other too.
Exactly, is how they talk, how they do their promoting, how they wrestle. Like I critique wrestling, and I hate it. I hate it because I'd be like, I'll watch the match, and I'd be like, oh, they fucked up right there. His foot slipped a little bit right there. Oh, his hand wasn't in the right spot. You know what I mean? Like, and I hate that, but at the same time, I love it because I'm watching the match for what it is as a technical wrestler. Because that was my game. I was the technical wrestler. Mind you, I was in a lot of hardcore matches and noodled my brain up a little bit, but I loved the technical side of wrestling. And to me, I would practice and practice and practice and like I would spend hours in that ring by myself if I had to make sure I was doing what I did and did it properly. Number one, you don't want to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing ever. Like, you never emotionally get over hurting somebody really bad. And I wanted it to technically look good so that not only did I look good, but the company I was wrestling for looked good. And I'm thinking just myself, if we could get back to the basics of wrestling, which to me is great matches, simple, quick promos, like they did in the 80s. If we can get back to that stuff like they're doing in AEW right now, dude, wrestling would explode, in my opinion.
I think that's just it. Like, we live in a day where we want instant gratification or instant whatever, right? Like, if you're not getting it right away, your attention span almost goes elsewhere. And I find that is sometimes maybe a shot in the foot as wrestling, because they're trying to put too much into a story and it's just taking the attention out of somebody. Because the one thing that WWE doesn't do well right now is giving time to let things breathe and or like just become more organic, whereas that's exactly what AEW is doing, and because of that you're getting a lot more of the hardcore wrestling fans. Now WWE has already gone on record, and I think Roman Reigns has already gone on record saying the hardcore audience is not the main niche for WWE viewership. It's the ones that are seeking the entertainment aspect. That's who they cater to. And it's a lot more of a family show than it is a pro wrestling show. So you kind of have to find this in the middle, because as pro wrestling hardcore fans, as I know all three of us are, like it's completely different, because you got to be aware of what you're watching a show and what they're doing. Because if you're expecting applesauce and all you're going to get is orange slices, then you're going to be unhappy. But if you actually are open to orange slices, you're actually going to enjoy that product a little bit better.
Yep. And it's a lot of right now, it's a lot of being open-minded to what the product is that's being presented to you. Whether you want that soap opera-y aspect, well, then you want WWE for sure. 100%. If you want that soap opera where the storyline's told to you and it's stretched out and thrown in your face, and here it is, this is what's going on, cool. But if you want match after match after match with very little talking, you're AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, AAA.
Kind of want both, but I just want it to be well done.
Right? Where do you go?
Like, yeah.
Exactly. Do you go to your local promotion? You know, the indie
I
stuff?
have a lot of fun there, yeah.
Or do you go to like the MLWs, the Ignite Wrestling even does a show once every 2 months, but it's a very well done product all around. And I don't know if you gentlemen have watched Ignite Wrestling, but I highly recommend it. As a fan of the super fan, right? Okay, because I'm not. I wrestled maybe 2 matches, so I don't consider myself a wrestler.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like the super fan. I would definitely recommend Ignite Wrestling. Miss Kim puts on a great product, and that's where Kaylee King came from. And I I can't remember his name now. The gentleman that is with the crazy psycho guy in AEW. The Chaos faction.
Right. Dude that's with Dr. Luther.
And he wears a
Serpentico.
mask. Serpentico. That's where he came from.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So that's Ignite Wrestling. Is this Canadian?
No, it's actually I think she's in Florida right now.
Oh, okay.
Just a tiny little promotion. They actually wrestle, and this is the cool part, in a brewery.
Oh, all right.
My kind of venue.
It's wow, dude. I would recommend checking it out. She just upgraded her title belts now, and they're getting going again, and it's good. Again, like you said, if you want it just done right, where do you go? Where do you really go? Do you go local indie stuff, or a little higher up to that Ignite Wrestling product, or do you try to find like the professional, high contract paying wrestling? And can you find it? Can you really find the perfect? Okay, and I do put the bunny ears out here.
Mm-hmm.
The perfect wrestling company. Does it even exist? There's a question. Does that even exist? What do you think, Goose?
I don't.
I mean, I really do. I think that the closest thing is AEW. Like, I really like to watch AEW when I do watch it. It's just like I like the fact that I can tell that it's not as heavily scripted. Like when Jericho's out there, I don't believe he's out there reciting the lines he was given earlier in the day. Same thing with Punk, MJF, Eddie Kingston. Yeah. And you get to see a lot of that kind of stuff going on there. There's not a lot of promos I see on AEW where I'm like, oh, he clearly is just saying what he remembers. And it's, but in WWE, that's like a really common thing. I also there's also little things in WWE that make it less authentic for me. Like they have a new wrestler called Braun Breaker, who is
that's NXT.
Yeah, he's Rick Steiner's son.
I know.
I'm pretty sure his legit shoot name is like Rex Steiner. And I'm sorry, but Rex Steiner is a way cooler wrestling name than Braun Breaker. Yeah. Braun Breaker, especially if you're going to tell everybody he's Rick Steiner's kid, like every time he wrestles, just let him be Rex Steiner because it's a better name. It's more like the fact that you changed his name for no reason and it's worse. It's like not even like arguably, but like really, really like that's a bad wrestling name. And they made that as wrestling. That just screams phony to me. Not like I don't want to believe it. I would believe the fact that, oh yeah, Rick Steiner, he raised his kid to be an ass whooper, and that guy's now showing up in NXT and is doing what he was raised to do. But now I believe, he was grown up to be like a wrestling guy, and now he came up with his own wrestling name, and it's not particularly good. But what are you gonna do? Like. Well, and I'm not trying to shit on him. I'm sure he's really good in the ring, and I haven't heard any bad stuff about him or anything. I think that name is just it's as bad as Michael McGillicuddy, which is also like, what were you thinking? He's Kurt Henning's kid. Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of cut in there because Braun Breaker already came out and said that name was his idea. It wasn't a name that was given to him. It was something he did. And sometimes guys don't want to leech off of their ancestry name. Some guys do want to go out and do something completely different. I think Bray Wyatt was actually a flat out example of that because he didn't want to go off the rotundant name right away. It's when he's getting older now, he kind of is okay with it because he knows it's something that he owns and it's not something that can be taken away from him, which is something that I think he's now at that crossroads with.
Well, I'm just saying this is when they changed his name to Husky Harris. He had that name for a few months, and then he changed his name to Bray Wyatt because Husky Harris is a bad wrestling name.
No, he was Husky Harris for a better part of a year, actually.
Well, it was long enough for him to realize that he, they changed that for a reason. Like the Braun Breaker thing. If you're gonna go with the wrestling name, just make it better. I don't know. Well, I think Braun Breaker just. This is like if I name myself Rick Drop Toe Hold or I what? Captain Powerbomb. Why not? I think Parrish is frozen again.
Yeah, what a good place to throw. I want to screenshot that. He just looks like, really, dude? You're really saying that?
Suburban Commando. I was frozen today.
But I don't know. I do understand why he's not using the Steiner name. I get that 100%. Dude wants to make his own name. I get that 100%. I
Fair,
understand.
but then wrestle it with a mask on, because like
Exactly,
then
right?
like
That's
wrestle with a
kind of where I
mask
was
on,
at.
get really good, because like he's still pretty green because he's only just started. So wrestle with the mask on, and once you're totally capable and you're totally fair, maybe then you take off the mask, and then you're like, yeah, I'm Rick Steiner's kid, and you know
Yeah,
everybody's
you
like,
do like a
oh, this guy
surprise.
who's really good right now, and you know likely will forget about all the stuff like the
Yeah.
learning experiences he had to go through. Then they'll be like, oh wow, holy cow, that guy was Rick Steiner's kid the whole time. But I mean, if you're
Right?
just
Isn't
going to
that
be
right?
like,
Like
hey, it's Rick Steiner's kid, but he's changed his name to this, it's like, well, that's weird.
okay.
That's
Okay,
the
I can see
problem.
where you're coming from now. Okay, I get
Yeah.
it now. I completely understand what you mean because everybody knows it's Rick Steiner's kid. No
Yeah.
matter what he changes his names to, you're still Rick Steiner's kid. I get that. And at the same time, I feel the same. He should have maybe come out with a mask on or face paint to disguise who he is, and yeah, build your name, get big, and then go. Yeah, guess what? You know what? Forget it. I'm done with this mask. This is who I am.
Mhm.
I'm really a Steiner. Let's go. Let's go win championships. Let's go win titles, and let's get it done with.
I mean, even if he didn't want to be a Steiner, if he established himself as, whatever, masked killer guy, and then just decided one
Yep.
day he was going to take off the mask and pursue a new name and never brought up Rick Steiner, like that
Yeah,
would
just
have to
be
be
the
key
killer
to
guy
it.
instead of the
Like
masked
if
killer
the
guy.
commentary team, and I can't speak for certain that they're doing this, but I assume that every time he wrestles, they're mentioning this, that he's Rick Steiner's son. Are they not?
Actually, they're not allowed to right now. They're not
Oh, okay.
allowed
Well,
to
then I'm
mention
a little more
because
cool with that because
Also,
yeah.
take into account
WWE
that Rick Steiner didn't leave WWE on the greatest of terms either.
exactly.
So, I mean, it's
Exactly.
not like he is the number one favorite son of WWE.
Exactly. So what WWE is doing right now is they're using this kid
Mhm.
as we built him. We made him
Yeah.
famous. It wasn't because of his name. That's why nobody's allowed to talk about who his father is, who his uncle is, nothing.
Well, the
Well, like I,
subtleties are there when Tommaso Ciampa is saying you got a 33 and a third shot at beating and stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
I think this is wrestling to an extent though, because
yeah.
you know the realistic thing. Like somebody is the son of somebody, but they're
Yeah.
trying to make him his own entity and his own star
Yes.
and make it on his own merit, opposed to just saying, oh, you're Ric Flair's daughter. Here's 16 world championships for the sake of 16 world championships.
Exactly. 100%.
I'm just
Exactly.
trying to speak to like why I think that
Yeah.
AEW comes across as more authentic, because I believe
No,
that
I
if
get it.
AEW had hired Rick Steiner's kid, they would have just said, "Oh, you want to be Braun
Steiner
Breaker?
would
What?
be in
No,
the
you're
ring
Rick
with
Steiner's
them.
kid. You're Rex Steiner. Go out there and kick some ass."
But
Like,
again,
He
it's
would've
not like
gotten that
WWE said you can't use the Steiner's name. Braun
They
Breaker
did.
actually but Braun Breaker also came out and said he wanted to
want
do something different. He wanted to be
okay.
his own thing.
Yes.
And some guys are like that. Not to
It was
mention, WWE likes to own their names. So that's a
exactly. It
different
was a
thing.
new
AEW is not on that
I'm not
business
saying
level.
it's not a
So-
news thing. I'm just saying that when it comes to like a perception of authenticity, if there's a guy I fully know that's Rick Steiner's kid is going to come in and wrestle as Rick
Yeah.
Steiner, is going to come in and just change his name because of like phony wrestling reasons, then it just that's my issue with
Again,
it.
But
And
but
I'm not trying to hate on any of this
I
stuff.
know.
No, but-
I know.
Obviously,
No, but
That's
why
what
is
you wanted
Jungle
to be.
Boy not using his dad's last name because his dad's was a famous actor
yeah, but
that people knew, and then now he's Jungle Boy, and how stupid of a name is Jungle Boy? Really, the thick
It's
of
kind of
things.
funny.
I
It's like,
think
what are you
I
at?
think
Like,
the
what are you,
difference in
Tarzan's illegitimate kid? Like, come on.
I think the difference in the situation is there that I had no idea he was Luke Perry's kid until Jim Ross told me he was Luke Perry's
Exactly.
kid. So
Exactly. That's how low key he kept that because
Yeah.
Well, it's also because
wanted
Luke
to make it
Perry
on
wasn't
his
in
own.
wrestling. Yeah.
he wanted to make it on without daddy's name. I guess it's hard to explain if you're.
It's
not
harder when your
that
dad
kid.
is more famous in wrestling than the son is, and you're trying to
Exactly.
like make a name not using your dad's name.
Exactly. Again, I think Rick's son, Braun Breaker, we'll just use his name now. I think it would have been a good idea for him to come out wearing some kind of face paint or a mask and just done it without the face so nobody know who he was. Make your name, get your money, and if you want it, then later on, hey,
Just
this is who I am,
make him
and
carry a
use the
cross.
name. There you
I'm
go.
Chaz. I'm a kid from Jersey, and I just want to
Yeah.
wrestle.
Like that's the thing about it too, is even if he does do the mask idea, it can't be cheesy like that carrying
Well, no.
cross stuff. Cause like
No,
that's the
that's
same
just
that's the
silly.
same thing is like carrying cross is this guy we're all expecting to be a killer because has this reputation as like an indie killer. And then Rex Steiner is Rick Steiner's kid, and Rick Steiner has a reputation as like this ass kicking machine, right?
Oh yeah.
So like
Yeah.
there's expectation there when he shows up, and when you just try to mess with that, it comes across just
I can
poorly
see
to
where
me,
you're coming from,
as
'cause you're-
silly to me, as silly.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like it. Is and don't get me wrong, I like silly wrestling. I wrestle as a goose, so like, but like I'm not out there trying to claim I'm an ass whooping machine either. Like so I don't know. Maybe I should just shut up. But
But you also raised a good point too, because now NXT 2.0, it's not about the disconnect from being in NXT to the main roster. Like when we see guys coming from NXT 2.0 and they're going to the Raw and SmackDown, they will be just that character because they are developing what that character is from the get-go. Whereas Karrion Kross was one of the last examples of the disconnect that Vince McMahon didn't have with the guys in NXT because he didn't have any hands into the NXT product really. And
I think it was better.
And then I think that one promo with Adam Cole where he's like, you got the lights, you got the girl, you got the fog, you got all this other things. And you know what make Adam Cole special? They ring the freaking bell. And that really stayed true to me when I saw this because they took all that away from Karrion Kross. And to be quite honest, a lot of people just didn't even get involved in his matches as a fan because they actually liked everything else, just the ambiance that came with the character. And I think that really didn't help the character out because what happens at a live show when you don't have that? Do you get that same reaction if you don't have the bells and whistles?
No.
Because that's something that didn't work in his favor.
Why book him to come out without the bells and whistles? It's like saying, "Oh, well, the Undertaker's gimmick shouldn't be good." Like, because what if the Undertaker's lights don't work at the show that one night? Like, no, they still want to see the fucking Undertaker.
Here's the thing, though.
But Vince wanted to see if he had a star without it all before he went there.
Here's the deal, though. The characters now need those bells and whistles. Back in the day, you can take The Undertaker, Stone Cold, Hogan, anybody, and you could put them in a house show where they don't have any of that jazz, their music hits, people know exactly who they are. That's all they need. Bam, the music did it for them. It doesn't do it now because you don't have that mind-blowing music like they did back then where the bell tolls. Who's that?
Metallica.
Undertaker, and that's all he needed. He didn't need the fog. The fog was just over the top for him. Same with Stone Cold. As soon as you heard that glass shatter,
I just think it's ridiculous to establish a gimmick on him in NXT and then have him come up to the. Yeah, it's like if the Undertaker was getting way over in NXT, you bring him to the SmackDown, and you're like, leave the coffins and stuff at home. Just maybe wear the biker gear this time.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I think that also just showed you the disconnect between Vince McMahon and the next generation of talent, and the lack of communication between Triple H and Vince with those kind of things. Because I think he saw a difference in visionaries when it came to Triple H and the product he saw in NXT than Vince on just what Raw and SmackDown was. Both people, everyone already said that those are completely different products from each other. And NXT at one point was one of the best pure wrestling products there, with AEW still going at its earliest. So it just showed you that WWE is capable of going that route, but when it comes to what they want to do, it's really not who they are. They do focus on that E instead of that second W more often because it's more sustainable to do 250 times in a year.
Exactly. Vince should have I wish he would have just left NXT in the very capable hands of Triple H And
Well, I think the problem is that
HBK,
Triple H wasn't capable after he had like a cardiac thing.
I know, and that's I
Yes.
wish you
Yeah.
just would have said, you know what, then HBK, you've been here long enough. You got your fingers and everything. You know how Triple H would think. You know what he would want to do. Here, you take it till Triple H is ready to come back and take over again. It would have been great. Could you imagine seeing a product that HBK is basically running? Could you imagine that? Would that? Would you want to
It's
watch
hard
that
to
or no?
say because like I mean HBK has really good like wrestling matches and stuff, but like
Yep.
I've never heard of his like booking prowess or anything like that. So like it could be good, it could be an absolute nightmare. You never know. Like
How hard would it be for Triple H to go this guy, and this guy on his
yeah.
little?
But
And
to
I
I'd
be
like to
want these
believe
guys
that
to
Triple
wrestle, and
H
you do the
that
rest.
yeah,
but
I'd
to
like
be
to believe
fair
that
though, we never knew what Tony Khan's was either. So I mean, who are you going to
Hmm.
trust more in a booking sense? One of the greatest performers of all time, or a
Right.
Billy,
yeah, I mean,
or the
that's
Jacksonville Jaguars kid?
yeah, and I was just trying to say, like, I have every reason to believe that it wouldn't be like absolute trash because I'd like to believe that Shawn Michaels does have some grasp of that idea. In fact, I would believe he has a really great grasp on it, but I don't think it's something he's ever been like. There's been a lot of wrestlers that have been like bookers over the years and stuff, right? And sometimes they get bad reputations for it.
But at the same time, would you give HBK the opportunity to try?
Oh hell yeah, why not?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Exactly.
at least like have them book some of the house shows and stuff first maybe like there's probably like I think that abandoning your entire philosophy on NXT and taking on a whole new philosophy and just like trying to completely overhaul the whole show is a
Which is
little
what they
bit
did.
of an overstep. Like I don't understand why they've done that because like what was
Again,
going
it's
on
Vince.
before, it's not like people were trashing on it. It's not like anyone was like, oh, NXT is really old and stale and it sucks now. Like it's sure every 4 months we get an awesome takeover and like it's like the greatest shows that WWE produces, but they're really getting long in the tooth here. Maybe we should, like let's just see a bunch of like
Yeah.
goofy comedy and colorful sets and stuff.
Basically, turn it into a Raw and a SmackDown.
At the end of the day, though, WWE has been doing this kind of from day one. Though they've been producing their own stars, and that's what they do. I think this is just yeah, and I think this is just what they're doing. They're more committing to the fact that okay, we want to trust what we have at the PC. We want to put that on TV in a way of seeing that develop in a new NXT, and then when they're ready, make the jump to the main time, whether it's Fox, whether it's a USA, getting the more eyes because there's definitely more eyes on the Raw and SmackDown, obviously. Yeah. But and then when you do that, then you can really attach that machine that you have, which is your marketing system, which is still the best marketing system in any entertainment when it comes to pro wrestling. And then that's where they go. I mean, they did this with guys like The Rock. And that's one of their biggest stars of all time. They did that with Hulk Hogan, one of their biggest stars of all time.
Still big star.
They even did it with Brock Lesnar. They even did it with the character that is The Undertaker. They did it with all these guys who never made much of a name anywhere else. But when they did that, and then that's kind of what I think the mold they want to go back to. It's just not the mold that the hardcore wrestling fans want to see. They want to see the great wrestling shows, and they want to see the great wrestling matches. And you're not always going to get that with what WWE is doing now, and that's why we're seeing such a hardcore shift to AEW right now.
Yeah, well, again, I still feel that we're comparing apples, oranges. Because again, WWE went from great matches and the Attitude Era to now we're entertainment. So we're kind of soap opera-y so that we're more kid friendly, so that we can do these Make-A-Wish things and we're not cussing and swearing on TV. We're more, the giant conglomerate kind of thing. And now we're AEW and everybody else really kind of falls into the same category for me. Is we're not really entertainment, we're professional wrestling. And that's what we're calling it, which is They're good promos, very quick, very, very, like you said, you do your 2-minute promo, you're in, you're out, and now we're back to wrestling. Right? We have a quick interview, now we're back to wrestling. You have your quick little segment where CM Punk comes out, talks shit about MJF. MJF talks shit about him. We're entertained there. We're getting a storyline because we're like, they're going back and forth. Now they're gonna wrestle.
Yeah.
They build the matches. They're not just throwing shit at you saying, these big long speeches in the ring, and now we're gonna wrestle like 2 weeks from now. It's very two different, very, very different points, but at the same time, like, who do you want to watch? Do you want to watch the AEWs, MLW, or do you want that entertainment and sit and listen to the storylines that are being fed to them to feed to us?
Yeah.
It's your own preference. It really
Well,
is.
I mean, I don't have a problem watching the things that have been fed to them if they're fed to us. If they're not fed to them in such a way that they're feeding them back to us in a way that it's so obvious that it's been fed to them, like if it comes across as authentic, I'm good with it. I'm happy to watch Roman Reigns go out there and cut a badass promo. I realized most of it, what he said was probably, discussed earlier and, has been, cleared and whatnot. So, but like, he doesn't come across as a guy that so much to me as one of the dudes that's out there. Just like when he says his stuff, I believe it. Right. And I think that's the key to it is like sometimes
seem like a robot.
Yeah. Like if you're clearly trying to, your promo comes across as though you're trying to remember your lines instead of you're trying to say what you got to say, then it's not believable and doesn't come across as authentic. And I don't like it as much as in AEW, whereas maybe your promo is a little too long, or maybe you end up cussing once or twice, but like at least what you said was real.
So let me ask you this then. What you're missing from wrestling is the heart, we'll say, where it feels more, this guy was given an idea and told to run with it, come up with whatever promo you want. Just, this is where you got to start. This is where you got to end. What you do in the middle, we don't give a shit. Figure it out. This is the time you have.
Obviously, like, I don't know. I would like it if they went to the guy and said, okay, these are the points we made. You've got two, you got however long you got. Go out there, come up with something and have a good time. And then if it's two people, then maybe you're going to get a little more scripted and, but I don't know, like just handing a guy like a 3 pages worth of a monologue or whatever, it just doesn't seem like a good idea to me. Cause like a lot of people are not like they're wrestlers, they're athletes. They're not fucking like actors and stuff,
No, I get it.
But a lot of guys in WWE, when they first started off, they weren't pro wrestlers from the indies. They were football players that couldn't cut it, and then they got hired. And like for that reason,
very few of them were actors that got hired and couldn't cut.
But for that reason, like we look at somebody like The Miz, who is definitely a guy that wanted to be in wrestling, but then when it came to a promo and we saw it on the Diva Search, the guy really screwed up a lot. That is why the whole idea of a script was done, because when you're doing a produced show like they do, which I think is beyond saying, they overproduce their shows, and that results into why we hate certain aspects, whether it's a camera cutting, whether it's too many lights. Like I remember watching SmackDown where, after the entrance, that stage was dimmed and the only thing that was lit was the ring. Yeah. And it was like, I just missed those subtleties that they do. And it just made things a little bit more, like, it just made the atmosphere more authentic to me. And I think that is something that I don't see on Raw or SmackDown, is an authentic atmosphere. I don't think the fans are, engaged to chant whatever. Like I remember going to a show where Val Venus was there, and somebody would hold a sign that says like Val Venus, no penis. And nowadays that wouldn't be something that's like brought on, just because
be allowed.
No, and it's just too. It's too no, and it's like
I
it's
leave my
too-
Val Venus has no penis sign at home every time I go to it.
Right.
I don't even take it with me to the shows anymore.
But like sometimes you would go to a show back in the day and you would see signs that were saying Bret Hart's awesome or Bret Hart sucks, and you just saw the organicness out of the fans. You saw just that organic atmosphere that made the show that much better.
Okay.
And I think they've taken that atmosphere away from a live show now. And because of that, they tried to overproduce it with brighter lights, which honestly nobody freaking likes anyway.
Go ahead and say it. Nobody
but,
fucking cares.
But like it's like great. I don't give a shit about how bright a blue light is anytime person A comes out. What I care about is, do they make me give a shit about what they're doing? And if what they're doing is literally staged up like you're in a play and it's rehearsed every little step of the way, it's like, okay, I'll watch it and I'll be like, okay, they did some cool things. But don't tell me to get interactive when I know that if I yell something and they're supposed to turn left, that's the time, and they don't, they might be released the next week. Like it's just one of those things that there's not a lot of that room for error anymore on their show.
So do we feel that maybe WWE should tone back some of the
There's nothing raw about Monday nights anymore.
And I'm just talking WWE in general. I'm not picking on a show. I'm just saying, in general, take some of that jazz and stuff back, and go back to basics of, listen, you want the attention on the ring, dim all the lights. Whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit that. Highlight just the ring, like they used to do back in the day. Because I know AEW does that. They don't have pyro. They don't have.
Look how big the stadium or the arena looks when you watch Dynamite, and look how small it looks when you watch Raw or SmackDown. And I think right there is the perception issue.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with both sides are filled. It's how that company perceives their product. One looks bigger. One just feels like we need a bigger LED screen to look cooler.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, do you want to be in Times Square with all the nice lights, or do you rather walk the strip and see everything that's going on?
True enough. Right. Do you need the frazzle and dazzle, or do you need just the basic product?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it like that. Well, I think like if you're gonna put it in those terms, like I want from the biggest company in the world that is supposed to be the best wrestling show. Yeah, I want a nice big piece of steak, and I want all the razzle dazzle covered on top of it too. You know, like,
right.
But I want it to taste good, and I want it to be delivered like within an appropriate time frame, and you know.
With that being said, though, like, they don't make WrestleMania feel like WrestleMania anymore, because they do the same to they do the same to Monday Night Raw at times. They do the same to SmackDown. They do the same to SummerSlam. It's just one of those things where it's like you only go big on a couple things that we all know, and we all love that aspect still. Yeah. I think we'd all get mad if they stopped doing custom stages to Raw or to WrestleMania. But with that being said, like, scale back Raw, and it makes your pay-per-views look better. Scale back SmackDown, and it just, it makes us put more of our attention less on the cosmetics and more on the actual prosthetics.
Yes. So again, scale back your shows every week. Scale them back. You don't need all that pyro. You don't need.
Might be able to save some money so you don't have to fire half your roster every year too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but
spending money on all that pyro.
Let's be honest, though, too. If there's a company that didn't need half the wrestlers, it was WWE, and AEW is now getting to that spot.
Quickly, right? Very quickly. They got so many wrestlers that I'm like, oh.
Do you guys remember when Pac was supposed to be a main event player in AEW? Because I do, and I don't know what the hell he does anymore.
Yeah, where's he been?
Exactly. He has been a victim of the convoluted thing. Remember when Rusev was a big deal?
Yeah.
What is he doing right now? What is Miro actually doing? No, he's getting chewed up because It's being
Yeah.
convoluted.
Yeah, both rosters are pretty big.
Look at
But
FTR now.
I don't
and-
want to see anyone lose their job or get fired. But
No, but like look at FTR and how they were the number one tag thing when they walked in. And then all of a sudden, boom, one match with the Young Bucks that killed their run as tag champions, and they have never found any sort of rhythm since.
No, they've had how many confrontations with the Jungle Express, the Lucha Bros, and they just go nowhere.
You give them the benefit of the doubt because they're still currently with AEW, so you're like, okay, you can still use them well, but has AEW really used FTR better than WWE used the Revival? Because I don't think they've done that much better of a job, if even a better job at all.
No, I remember.
I mean, they haven't had to shave each other's back in the ring or anything like that.
Sure. But in WWE, they won championships in NXT. They won it on SmackDown. They won it on Raw. And they had better reigns, to be honest.
Yeah.
They didn't do one and dones, and they never really got the title rematch back with the Bucks.
Don't they have the title right now? The AEW title?
No, they have the
AAA title.
The AAA. Yeah.
What's the AAA tag team title do for them in AEW? Nothing.
No, I mean it was the same as why does Kenny Omega need to wear 3 straps, and then all of a sudden when he loses 2, it's like, oh, we're supposed to just care more about the AEW title now?
Well, and the AAA title. What's he doing with that right now?
Oh, I think he vacated it, to be honest.
I don't think he has.
I think
that's where he's gone right now. Do some matches and then lose the title.
I think he took an actual break from wrestling.
Oh,
I think he vacated the title, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, we'll have to look that up unless the Goose is doing it right now, because I see him looking down. I figured you were looking up. Does Kenny Omega still have AAA title? That should come up and go no. But still, even if he hasn't vacated that title, he's still holding a strap for what? Like, to us, what does the AAA title really mean to us?
Yeah.
When we don't get to watch AAA
the top
wrestling.
guy in AAA, which is one of the top promotions
he
in Mexico.
He vacated the title on November 22nd.
Cachet to it. I mean, you're a champion. He could show up with the local, Maryland state championship from, whatever local Maryland promotion he happens to also wrestle for. And I'd be like, oh, he's a champion there. He's clearly a big deal. Look at the belt.
Remember when Jeff Jarrett was the Smoky Mountain Wrestling champion, and Jim Cornette brought it back with him back then, and how nobody gave a shit about it?
Nobody cared.
It was very similar to me, and it's why do you have to make your title? If AEW has done one thing that I don't think they've done the best job at, is they haven't made their titles that meaningful.
The only one that I know of is the really is constantly thrown in my face is the TNT title.
Yeah. And because I said it in your guys' show, the Young Bucks, I didn't think did much to elevate the tag titles. They did a lot to elevate themselves, but they didn't do enough to elevate the tag titles. They did very little to elevate the tag division, which I still remember them saying on the podium that they're going to make tag wrestling matter again. You failed. You lied to me before you actually had your first show. And that is why I still hold them accountable for being bullshitters, because they lied. And then everyone who's like, oh, they're the best tag team. If they're such a good tag team, then why didn't they carry those titles and elevate them? Because every time I watch the New Day or Usos, I care more about the tag titles. And this is coming from a company that has already said they don't care about tag wrestling.
Exactly. Right? Who right now, if you had to pick a tag team that actually has done something for tag team wrestling, who's the first team that comes to your mind?
At all or right now?
Right this minute, come to your mind right now.
I would say probably New Day.
Right. What about you, Goose? Who's your first tag team that comes to your mind when you're like, I think they're the greatest because they're always in my mind, always in my eye?
Ooh, tag teams. It's a real I can't really name one in WWE right now, other than there's New Day, Street Profits.
It doesn't have to be WWE. It could be anything.
I think the Viking Raiders are really good, but underutilized. Briscoe brothers are our top pick. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't watch a whole lot of Ring of Honor, but back when I did, the Briscoe brothers have been amazing to me for many, many years, and I would highly, highly doubt that they've fallen off the wagon and become crappy. So
You know
They
who's
have the titles right now, and they're fighting in AEW.
I would love to see the Briscoe brothers in AEW. I think that'd be
They're in it right
fantastic.
now. They're going against FTR.
Yeah.
Oh, they showed up? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought there
Oh, yeah.
was like
The
up
last
in the
show
air
they
whether
showed
they
You know
were
who's a
coming.
really good tag team that nobody gave them enough credit for because I don't think enough people watches NXT UK, but Mustache Mountain. Like Trent Seven just brings you into every little performance he does. And he's so underrated, and then Tyler Bate is just so good at such a young age. And like it's just if people want to say, well, like MJ is the future of pro wrestling, which you know he very well could be. And then you have Darby Allin, and then you have Hook, which is still premature to say anything about Hook because he's had one match, and then the other match it gets overshadowed by a very poorly oversell or no sell that was not needed in the match. I really like, and people really need to. Well, they did this in the '80s with other guys. Okay, again, like you're only finding narratives that help better the thing, and you can never take accountability on something bad that you do. That's insecurity 101, and that is why I still say AEW 100%. Fans are very insecure about their product. At least WWE fans, in my experience, knows that they can call their product a piece of shit when it's a piece of shit.
Right, exactly.
But then when you had a really poorly timed explosion in a ring, it wasn't a big deal. It was like this stuff happens. Okay, but then when you have situations in WWE that don't go well, you know, it's not stuff that happens like typical WWE. This is what happened. Like it's just really negative on that end, and that's why I think it's very salty on one.
Yeah, see, for me, when I think tag teams, right away, the Lucha Bros. I've been watching those guys before they were a tag team in Lucha Underground.
Yeah.
And then you think, okay, who's another tag team? I'm thinking the Good Bros, the Good Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely out there all the time with their titles, promoting their product, promoting the company they're with, and they wrestle as many matches as possible to keep themselves relevant and tag team wrestling relevant. That's the two teams I think of right now.
Yeah.
Lucha Bros, the Good Brothers, and of course you got the New Day because the New Day just fucking rocks. I don't care what version of the New Day, they all rock.
Every year I see WWE come out, and it blows my mind with how much they run on nostalgia, by the way.
Right.
But like, it's Christmas, we're going to do the ugly sweaters. And I know this was one of last year because I saw, I think, Billy Kay and a Ric Flair one. And I'm like, well, there are two things that are wrong there. One doesn't work for the company, and then the other one has a hard time booking flights now. But but it's like, man, like where were the New Day ugly sweaters? Because those are going to get marketed a lot better on screen by the guys. Like, why do you guys always go back to your 1980s and your 1990s? And they're like, well, we got a Roman Reigns. Okay, one that stood over the crowd. But it's like, okay, where's a Bobby Lashley one? Why don't you make him something like special? Okay, where's a Brock Lesnar one? Because I guarantee people would buy more Brock Lesnar merchandise. Yeah. Like, it would just be hilarious. But then also, where is like maybe your Baileys who you don't promote enough, or where's your Oscars? Where's just like
an Oscar ugly Christmas sweater? That would be hilarious.
Yeah. And like
we're so ugly to be funny.
Yeah, but like, where's your Shinsuke one, or where's your Pat McAfee dancing like an idiot every time he listens to Shinsuke? Like, it's things like that. There's no creativeness with WWE
like
creativity.
R-Truth ugly sweater would be good.
Like, imagine if there was an R-Truth 24/7 one, or like whatever, and just like he's like a 360
just the gaudy
time 24/7
shiny plastic in the middle.
I crossed a bridge, and then I also met like
just there's
Tom and Hawk and their adventures behavior, and like whatever. Like,
again, I'm still of the same opinion that somehow, some way in WWE there needs to be a takeover and get Vince's grubby fingers off of every single little detail that gets and decision that gets made.
You know what I was really hoping? That this Monday we had so much people like either test positive or close contact with COVID-19 to the fact that they went allied like 2019 and brought NXT up. And you actually saw Braun Breaker defeat Tommaso Ciampa on the USA Network for the NXT title. I thought that would have been amazing for rating, amazing for them. That way you would actually care about, like, you actually, more people would actually be aware of NXT 2.0, because a lot of people probably shut it off when it rebranded. But I thought it would absolutely perfect.
I can't say I shut it off completely, but I don't go out of my way to watch it.
Yeah, I don't think I've really watched any of it since it has restarted or whatever. Maybe caught one or two things here or there on YouTube, but
like, imagine if you had that Braun Breaker match that, like, honestly took you back to when Mick Foley won the title. Like, I think that's something WWE definitely needs to think about doing when they're in a jam like that. Of like, okay, yeah,
one guy that should never win the title win the
or
title.
even that's when Liv Morgan beats Becky Lynch for the title.
Wow, could you imagine?
Like, something totally unexpected. Yeah,
right out of left field.
Remember when Zack Ryder won the Intercontinental title at Mania and nobody fucking thought that was going to happen?
I never thought he was gonna.
No. But, like, it was just so refreshing.
Didn't go anywhere. That's the bummer.
No, didn't need to.
But it didn't need to.
Yeah.
He lived off of that. I won the Intercontinental Championship.
It's back when
a year?
It's back when Diesel beat Bob Backlund at Madison Square Garden in 8 seconds. It's like, holy shit, this is happening. And, like, I just didn't think it. It, like, everything you thought you knew as a wrestling fan changes in those 3 seconds.
They just need that one thing to.
I mean, they did put the belt on what's her name, Nikki Cross, earlier this year, and that was kind of that same idea. It was like complete underdog comes in, wins the belt out of nowhere, like
Rocky scenario.
I feel like it's kind of like, you know, people are kind of over Nikki Ash right now. Like, she's not considered to be like one of the highlights of the show anymore. Which I think is a real shame, because I really liked her gimmick when it first started up.
It is. I think she would have benefited more if she moved to SmackDown, because I think like the Becky Lynches of the world are just too much for her. It's just a better act than she is right now. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think there's a lot of things. I don't think it's stale, but I just think like it had a shelf life.
Rebrand.
And then you kind of like, sometimes I think WWE doesn't do enough of this. If something's like dying down, just take it off for a little bit and then make us want it back and then bring it back.
Right.
Because I can guarantee you by the time Bayley comes back, she's the number one babyface of that company.
Oh, hell yeah. You know, Bayley's coming back as a babyface, and she's going to be the biggest babyface that you could find for WWE right now, because I want her back more than I want to see anybody win a title right now.
Do you think Bayley's going to wrestle Becky Lynch at WrestleMania?
It'd be the smartest thing they do.
Right.
So do you think Bayley just shows up, wins the Royal Rumble?
I hope to God that happens.
Could you imagine?
I think Bayley.
She kind of deserves it. Like last year, like as far as I know, she was fine to wrestle, and they just didn't book her on the card. And it's like, Bayley's been one of your highlights for like so many years now. You just didn't book her on this WrestleMania.
To be fair, though, she did a great job of being like that. I'm not the host, but I'm going to pretend to be the host thing.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. That was fun. Just to watch her interrupt.
Yeah.
And be like,
oh, she got more airtime than some matches.
It was a 2-night show. You could have given her a match on one of the nights and had her do that hosting nonsense on one.
No,
but when you think about it, she got more airtime than probably some matches got because of how many different segments she had. Therefore, she's more of a mainstay in that show than some matches are.
Exactly.
Do you think when she comes back, she's going to be babyface again, or do you think she's going to continue being obnoxious?
I have a feeling they're going to Seth Rollins her, and when I say that is when she comes back, she's going to get the pop. Everyone's going to go nuts when she comes back. I have a feeling WWE is going to keep her in the role she was, and that's a mistake, because organically, the right move is for her to be the number one babyface, whether it's her beating Charlotte or Becky Lynch. I think Becky Lynch is better because he's never had that feud on the main roster or even in NXT. It is a completely fresh feud with old faces, and I think that's smart. And I think Lacey Evans is actually one of those people that could actually be a realistic opportunity to go against Charlotte, not to take the title off. But imagine if they came back with that. Lacey Evans is a babyface, and she has the best background story to do it.
What if you had Bailey come back as a heel and team up with Becky Lynch as heels, and they went on like a run as heel champs or something for a little while?
I don't think you can sustain tag team wrestling with women right now in WWE.
Not in WWE, no.
Not in the main roster. NXT has a better women tag division than Raw and SmackDown.
I see women wrestling there on WWE product. I don't care. I really don't.
I mean, it's some of the best matches they have. Like the Bianca Belair match at that WrestleMania where she wrestled against Sasha was like one of the best matches on the show. Like,
right?
Yeah.
Singles matches. That's not title.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was a title match. Yes, Sasha Banks was it was for the belt. It was the main event of the first night.
Women's title.
Yeah.
I just get flack for saying it's not the main event to WrestleMania. And they're like, what do you mean? It was the last match of night one. I'm like, yeah, but there's a night two. The main event to me is the last match of a card.
Yes.
Was that the last match to WrestleMania? No, it's not a main event.
Should have been.
It closed off the first night, 100%, but it wasn't the main event.
I feel like it's the main event of night one.
Sure, but WrestleMania closed at night two.
Yeah. It wasn't the main event, which in my opinion is night two.
It's like when you have like a 9-day festival for music, like Woodstock or whatever. Is the main event like the last band of night one or the last band of night 9?
The last band play, period.
Mm-hmm. And that's just how I look at it. I mean, people can have their own way. Whatever. It was a great moment. It was a great match, and it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah. But like, it's just one of those things. It's like WWE needs to stop like touting a 10 when it's a 7. And to be honest, that's a universal thing of all wrestling fans right now. To be.
And we're not taking nothing away from WrestleMania being 2 nights. No. I get why they do it now, but
it's a right move. It's a right move.
To make it special again, you have to do that. But at the same token, I know we're kind of going back to what we talked about already. They need to tone down their product during the week and emphasize that kind of stuff on pay-per-views. Even tone down your pay-per-view a bit so that your WrestleMania becomes your big fiasco. Holy cow, this is the biggest event of wrestling ever again. Because that's where they used to do their pyro.
It's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube, though. You know, I think that's
you're
issue,
not wrong,
right? Like,
you're not wrong. It is. It's hard to
I mean, it's if you want to make WrestleMania the biggest show of the year, great. But I don't know if making all the other shows smaller is the best way to do it, rather than just make it bigger. You know, I don't know how you're going to do that. It's already pretty big.
But but that's also the thing, because I think that's exactly how you fix Raw. I think going back to 2 hours is the perfect fix for Raw.
They need to.
And the only problem is you won't, because that's an hour of television that you're taking away. Therefore, it's an hour of sponsorship you got to like give back. My thing is use that extra hour to help benefit things that you aren't doing enough of WWE. Maybe that's where you actually put a actual chance into revitalizing the cruiserweight division. Maybe that's what, even though they're killing it this week anyway.
It's dead.
But at the same time, maybe you start thinking beyond the box a little bit and be like, hey, what happens if we maybe give an hour program and start featuring the women a little bit more and seeing if it's actually sustainable that maybe we could have a female brand. Maybe WWE could do a Shimmer-like brand on their show.
So they're still doing a 3-hour block of wrestling on Monday night. It's just 2 hours are Raw, and then the other hour is another show.
It doesn't even have to be Monday. It could just be that's a same hour just done somewhere else, like some other time.
I think that's a logistical thing, like you say, with the advertisers and stuff. Because, like, I mean, if I'm advertising and I want my advertisements to be in like the 3rd hour during the main event of Monday Night Raw, and then WWE just decides, we're going to cut Raw down to 2 hours now. Your advertisement's going to be in the main event of our new segment, which is an all women's show. I'm in like, okay, but if Raw ends and half the audience tunes out because they don't want to stick around to watch the ladies or the cruiserweights wrestle, then I want to have some of my money back for all that money I paid you to advertise my thing during the main event of Monday Night Raw, right? Like,
yeah, but if you're actually taking
Well-
it seriously and your main event is like Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks for one of the championships, I guarantee people stay for that stuff. Like, you got to make it worth their while. It's like those dark matches that, like, oh, we're gonna put Jackson Riker against, like Lindsay Dorado. People are like, nah, I'm okay.
yeah.
But here's the thing, though. I have a little bit of broadcasting experience. When I was in college, that's what I took.
Mhm.
And what you do is your main event and the beginning of your show, you just take the middle part out and you do this. So your whatever commercials are supposed to be in the main event now slide into the beginning of the main event. So that middle segment comes out, and that's where you move that to wherever you want. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And that's where you broadcast those middle commercials that really nobody listens to and nobody fucking pays attention to.
Yeah.
That's all you do.
I don't know. I'm just I'm not saying it's a bad idea to make the third hour a cruiserweight show or a women's wrestling show, but I'll tell you that like main event airs like 1 hour before Raw does here in Canada on the same channel. I never ever tune in an hour early to watch main event. I don't care enough. Like I hardly ever tune in to watch Raw because it's not lighting my world on fire lately. But when I do, like. It's like, and the only reason I know that is because I actually, I went to specifically watch an episode of Raw a while ago, and it was like, oh, what Ricochet and Ali are wrestling right now. Awesome, what's going on here? Oh, this is main event. Oh, this is when this is on. Cool.
Right.
Like I didn't even know, like, and I mean, I think that like that's what I'm speaking to, right? Is like if. Yeah, like,
but see, you're still looking at it as a 3-hour program. What we're talking about is take this last hour and put it anywhere else.
I don't think you can do
as
that.
A different product.
I'm pretty
Sure
sure
they
you.
can.
I'd
Sure they can.
like, yeah.
It's all contract stuff. Like you can say, like,
Yeah,
hey USA, can we negotiate possibly a 2-hour Raw, but use that other hour and treat it somewhere else? It's very doable because sometimes they use that hour, like you said, as a main event, and they just made main event more of a show. I don't know. I just think now they have to really think about changing something, because if you're going to continually to do the same and hope to God that it's different, then you're insane, and that is what insanity is.
Yeah, exactly. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. If you're not ready to evolve, then the guy in charge should step aside, because in wrestling, if you're not evolving, you're not getting any better. That's why WCW failed, because they didn't evolve enough. They didn't know when to, call it on the fly when the fans didn't care, right?
Yeah.
So
again, we could talk about this for the next 5 days straight.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're just kind of like came here to like I don't know, kind of just talk about wrestling and like complain a little bit about WWE. It doesn't mean we don't like it. It doesn't mean like if
I watch it more than I watch AEW.
A little too much, and we have so much time in our lives that we can come on here and discuss this mundane stuff that doesn't really matter to the grand scheme of the world overall.
No, and really, it is what it is at this point. Like, if we could change the product ourselves, would we? Of course we would, because it's what we want.
Yeah,
Who doesn't like
Tony
the fantasy
Khan's
book,
father
right?
showed up at my house and was like, "Here's all the money I was going to give Tony to run AEW, but you go do it now," I'd be like, "Oh, well, okay." It sounds like a lot of pressure, but it's also a lot of money. So I'm sure that if you have people around you that know what they're doing.
When Tony Khan needs his jacked honey. He needs to hire someone to do what he did, like Vince McMahon did back in the day. Because I'd never want to see Tony Khan on national TV ever again. He is such a dork in every sense of the word. He's a dork. Like he looks cool, and I would love to hang out with the guy and just like nerd all over pro wrestling and just like enjoy it, because I would guarantee the guy loves pro wrestling. But when it comes to like actually putting it on screen and taking your I just no, I just don't like.
Yeah.
Like, no.
I've got friends that haven't watched wrestling since literally the end of the Attitude Era. They quit watching. And
Boys,
now
I will be right back.
Yeah, man. Go ahead. And
I think he has to poo.
probably.
Yeah.
He had that look in his eye.
Yeah.
But now they watch wrestling again, and they're watching the AEW, and they're back watching WWE, and they're like, they love both products.
Yeah.
Yes, they pick both of them apart because that's what fans do. You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be, in anybody's eye, you're never going to be the perfect number one as long as there's other companies around.
That's why fantasy football became such a good thing, because everybody loves to pick stuff apart and do it their way. And that's exactly what pro wrestling fans are the same. If there was a fantasy wrestling, like if that was an actual thing,
Oh God,
I'm
dude,
sure
that'd be
guys would
epic.
love it. Like, just love it.
You get the super card is what you would end up with. That's what I would call it.
Did you remember that computer game? I think it was like Extreme Warfare Revenge or something.
Yes, I remember that.
Like, did you not have the most fun with that because you got to do whatever you wanted and like make a fake organization and do whatever you wanted to do? Are you good?
Yeah, it's just my kid calling me.
Oh.
I'm gonna. Yeah, unfortunately, we're probably gonna have to end this.
Yeah,
I gotta call my kid. She's going to bed.
Goose is gonna be like, "Where did everyone go?"
I gotta go and actually get some housework done. I would love to talk here for like the next 3 hours.
Hey man, if you ever want to do this, just shoot the shit for fun, let me know. I'm off all week.
You're off all week? Well,
all week.
Do one in a couple days when I'm off.
Yeah, man, let's do it up
at night. All right. I'll send you some messages and we'll get her done.
Sounds good. Let's sneak into each other's DMs and enjoy that and enjoy what comes with it. Awesome. I am gonna laugh when like Goose comes in and be like, "Oh,
yeah, we're gone." But yeah, I gotta jump. Thank you for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
I appreciate it. And again, when you come in here, it's not just wrestling talk. We talk everything. So until next time. On behalf of Parrish, myself, and the Canadian Goose, who's taking a poop, we will see.
He's dropping a toonie, everyone. Yeah, we have coins for dollar bills. It's weird. Canada's weird.
I know we are. We are very weird, but that's okay. Everybody, thanks for coming. Have a great night. Enjoy.